Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, check out the Rebels home team broadcast on channel 191 on SiriusXM or on the SXM app, searching Ole Miss Rebels. I'm here with Daylan Flowers, and we are going to talk about A, disappointing weekend that was, and then B, a great weekend that's about to be. How you doing, Daylan?
I'm doing well, my friend. Of course, a very frustrating weekend, but I can't complain. Everything's still going well on my side.
Yeah, the uniform comment that everybody is making, both inside the Ole Miss fan base and people that watched on the outside, was how poor the offensive play calling was for that game. It was just weird how it happened. And this is a situation that Ole Miss has to get right, or LSU's got to do the same thing. LSU's got great athletes too. You can't do what they did against Alabama against LSU.
Absolutely, my friend. The word that I just said, frustration, was my emotions Saturday, and it's kind of still that way. Just a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, a lot of just question marks. I won't say what was spoken about, but I had a quick conversation with Michael Trick's father after the game, and you could just tell there was some frustration within him and how he was feeling. And I want to start just saying real quick, shout out to Katie Hill, man. Saw him this weekend. He's been through a lot the past couple months. Great to see him out there with a smile on his face. He's a tough kid, and I'm so happy where he's progressed so far. But this weekend was weird, man. We finally got those guys that we've been talking about back this weekend. Zakari Franklin was out there, Caden Prescorn we saw. But I honestly speaking, I didn't expect too much of them, of course. I'm happy to have them back, and now looking forward. Now, do I expect something going forward a lot more? Absolutely. But it was their first week, and honestly, I didn't think they played that bad. I know Prescorn had a missed drop that he was wide open, but he also really wasn't targeting. Really wasn't targeted at all the game. I think he did well blocking. And I think, one question that you've talked to me about even during the spring, and I brought it up during the Mercer game, we don't use the middle of the field at all. And I think Caden was targeted. I think it was Caden's only catch, was the second play of the game. He was up right in the middle of the field and got up past the 50-yard line. And we utilized it, and it worked tremendously. But I didn't see it the rest of the game. We saw a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motion plays. And it was just a big question mark to what's happening with Charlie Wise and his adjustments to the game. I was sitting in front of some Rebel fans this weekend, and I was telling them, because one of the guys asked me at halftime, how do I feel? I said, I think we're fine, man. I think, we should have a bigger lead than we have right now. But I've seen so far that we have been able to adjust and regroup after halftime and become better than we have played in the first half so far this season. I just didn't see that this weekend. And it was just very questionable because I thought we were doing too much, and we didn't need to do too much. We had the game in our hand. I think it was 7-6 at halftime. And that's still winning. And it should have been a lot more. Of course, Caden Davis missed that field goal, which is very monumental for us because at the end of the day as well, football, I think, is about adjustments and momentum. And I think that missed field goal, Caden, kind of deteriorated his momentum, but it also deteriorated the offense's momentum. I just had a lot of questions for Charlie this weekend. And I'm not taking that as a knock to Charlie Wise because he's done exceptional so far this season. Of course, we're going to have questionable play calls. That's football. But I think he has helped Jackson Dart develop a great sense of heart, toughness, and retaliation to criticism. But it was just, I felt like he was trying to be too over his head this weekend. And on set for that didn't allow the offensive line to get any chemistry and develop any good blocking really throughout the entire game. And I think that kind of frustrated Quinshon this weekend as well, too, because Lane's talked about this is kind of really his first weekend being healthy. And I thought he looked pretty darn good so far. Of course, he's not having the big explosive plays like we saw last year, but I thought he looked good this weekend. He kept driving his legs. He was finding gaps really well. He was breaking a lot of tackles, getting on the outside, getting up the field. I think this was a big stepping stone for him. But at the same time, we have to understand we have to play to what our strengths are, and we didn't do that this weekend. And I don't want to go on this Matt Leinart trade and say, like he did against Texas when they lost in the Rose Bowl, that that we were the better team and I thought we deserved to win. I don't think we were the better team this weekend, but I also don't think Alabama beat us. Unfortunately, I think we beat ourselves up, and that's just the harsh reality of it. But yeah, that's kind of what I saw this week on the offensive side of the ball. Just a lot of question marks, a lot of figuring out. And also I think some things have come out later on today that Aiden Williams, which is why he didn't play, has been going through some illness. I know Trey Harris is not 100% yet. So we'll hopefully get some rest this week, and we'll see what this weekend brings for him. And of course, Michael Trigg, he didn't see the field at all today. We have no idea why. And I think that could be a big problem in terms of not just outside of football, but in terms of our field talent. He could be really dangerous if we can use him correctly, but we didn't see him this weekend. So it's a lot of question marks, but I think we have a good week ahead of us. I think the coaches have their heads on right this week. So I think we'll be all right going forward.
Yeah, the Michael Trigg thing, the Alabama game was the reason we were looking forward to him. Him not playing in that game, I mean, I don't have high hopes for him moving forward.
Yeah.
Also, I think that Charlie Weiss, and it doesn't necessarily matter the middle of the field, although I want to see the middle of the field. And if you watch this channel, we've talked about the middle of the field. But what Ole Miss needs is quick game. Mm-hmm. They need pop passes. They need hitches. They need bubble screens. They need swing passes. They need some little bit of wheel route, just because it's not just about tempo and going as fast as you can, snapping the ball. Tempo also has an effect when you vary the times of when the ball is getting out of the pocket. If the team like Alabama or LSU knows that they have 2.5 seconds to get to a quarterback, they're going to win. They have superior athletes on the defensive side generally than Ole Miss has on the offensive side. So you need quick game. You need to get the ball out of your hand in a hurry. And if you do not do that, it is a recipe for disaster, especially against teams like Alabama, especially like teams against LSU and Georgia. Those are the three teams that is really going to affect you. But those are the three wins that is the difference between Ole Miss making it to the New Year's Six and sitting in the ReliaQuest Bowl. I mean, that's what that means. Jackson Dart has played fine. He's put the team on his shoulder. He needs to do it quicker. They need to figure out a way. Not everything can be a third-level RPO read. Sometimes you just have to do a pop pass, old school Matt Corral to Kenny Yeboah over the middle type. And if Ole Miss can do that, the offense has a chance to be pretty good. If Ole Miss is stubborn about this, they are going to end up going 3-5 in the SEC, and we're wondering why we're playing a bowl game in Nashville.
Absolutely. And for anyone that is kind of questioning what Steven just said, I want you to go back and rewatch the game. And a lot of the times, Jackson was having to flush out of the pocket to try to make a play happen down the field. And most of the times he couldn't, or his receivers, weren't really coming back to help him. But what he just said is we have to utilize the quick pass, the passes that can hopefully get receivers some momentum, and then we can take a shot deep. But a lot of the offense we saw this weekend was him being flushed out left or right and having to make a panic play, throwing it away, throwing it into coverage, running out of bounds. I'm not concerned about Jackson at all. I know you can't really.
Jackson's the dude. Jackson played actually pretty well considering that game plan. The play calling in that game was atrocious.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the kid at all. And I've said this before, and I will continue to go on record on this. I believe in Jackson Dart. I always have, and I always will be. I saw this weekend, I would think one of the big mistakes he did, really the only, was the interception going down into deep double coverage. But other than that, I thought the kid showed a lot of heart, a lot of toughness. That kid got his helmet knocked off 2 times. And, there's a lot of things that happened last year in the Bama game in terms of just referees and penalties, but we won't get into that. But the kid has grown tremendously over the offseason. And I don't know what that attests to, whether it's the coaching staff or, the transfers coming in and help motivating him, but I'm proud of him. I think it's difficult for us as fans and the players and the coaches because we really wanted this. We wanted it badly, especially the way it ended in Oxford last year between these two teams. And I think this was also a big drowning point for our season last year. But I think Charlie has to understand what makes his offense go at a consistent level? What makes Jackson develop a good plan that can then open up the deep pass, the middle pass, and open up the run game? And I just don't think he saw that this weekend. I think he had a good game plan starting off, but then again, adjustments. He didn't know how to adjust to what he saw. And that can also go back to experience, what experience, in situations like these, in stadiums like this, and games like this, that Charlie Wise really had before Ole Miss, and it's hardly none at all in terms of big games. And that comes with it. And I think this weekend was a very big learning opportunity for him, for the offense, just to see where we were at. I may take a little heat from you and for people watching this, but I kind of saw this as an evaluation game. And what I mean by this is, I know Lane was talked about it in the media before the Tulane. He said, no, this is not an evaluation game. This is an SEC type game. And I absolutely agree with that. But what I thought going into this was evaluating what year 4 for Lane, where we have come, how his team has developed, how good his teams can really be. And we didn't pass the test.
No,
and this weekend is the test. This weekend is the test to see whether it's sink or whether it's swim. So it's a lot going on, but I just want Jackson to know that hopefully someone finds this to him. We believe in you, kid. And there's so much criticism and negativity going on around about him. Kirk Cousins said in the quarterback on Netflix, he said, my critics I could walk on water. My critics could say it's because I can't swim. And I just kind of feel like we're in that situation now. And I hope he knows that there's a lot of belief in him. There's a lot of love in him. And I hope the offense knows that, and the defense, the entire team knows that no matter what, we believe in these guys. I just think they need to take a deep breath, step back, and understand we have a lot of talented guys on this roster. We have a lot of talented coaches, and they need to use that this weekend. So I'm not concerned, but it's definitely a lot of questions marks.
Yeah, and one thing I think, and I talk about this on tomorrow's show when we do our Keys episode, I do think Spencer Sanders needs to play. There needs to be a package. There needs to be 5 plays where he comes in the game. But that is not in place of Jackson. That is to protect Jackson. Yeah. Because I think Ole Miss needs to run the quarterback, because the offense is so much better when the quarterback runs. But if you just run Jackson over and over again, you're going to get that kid hurt. Yeah. So you need to come out and handle business and running the ball. You could almost do a package of 5 to 10 plays of a completely different offense just to mess with the team you're playing against. I think that would help Ole Miss against LSU. And besides, this game's always special, man. I love this game. It's one of my favorite games on the schedule. I wish Ole Miss would wear the navy blue lids with the OG jerseys with the gray pants, and LSU's in their yellow. That is what football looks like to me.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for this weekend. I had a very quick chat with Jordan Watkins before the game ended this Saturday. And I just told him, you're a dog, man. Don't let anybody else tell you that you had a heck of a day. Keep your head up and keep going. He just kind of nodded at me like, I got you, man. We're too early in the season to give up on these guys. Please do not. They need our support. They need our belief.
Nobody's going to give up on Ole Miss after losing a game in Tuscaloosa to Alabama. Nobody's giving up on Ole Miss. Now, they're disappointed because Ole Miss should have won that game. In the first half, Ole Miss was a better team. They choked away that game. But they're not giving up this season.
Yeah.
No.
And I hope they don't either, because there's a lot of talent within this team. And I think our team handled criticism pretty well this weekend. Going close to the game, Kevin Smith had a talk with all the running backs. And I think that is essential for coaches and players, especially in a game that happened like this weekend. And I think every single one of the running backs was frustrated for many different reasons. And I think Kevin had the idea to pull them aside, get their heads on straight, and understand that you're meant to be here for a reason, and that you've worked so hard in life to get here, and you're going to continue being great. And it was just a little small step back this weekend. So I don't know what he said, but I could just very tell that their faces went from frustrated to really motivated. And so I think he did a pretty good job at pulling them to the side and understanding that we have a lot of football season left to play.
Yeah, this is a big game because of what it means if it went sideways a little bit. But Ole Miss can win this game. Ole Miss has the talent to win. They need to handle business. It's not just going to be handed to them. But If Ole Miss can get this game, everything is in front of them, everything that they were playing for, because that Alabama team that Ole Miss played against this Saturday, that team's going to lose a couple ball games this year. It just is, because Ole Miss let that get away from them. So we'll see what all happens. I'm not totally worried. I am a little bit concerned about what happens if they don't correct what they did Saturday. If they come out and do more of the same that they did last Saturday, LSU's going to win the game.
Yeah, I want to see, shout out to Pete Goldman. What he's done just within the first 4 games has been absolutely incredible. I think he's utilizing every player very well, and they're believing in him. I want to see a better execution from our special teams this weekend. I think our punting has been kind of iffy throughout the first 4 games throughout the season. Defending the special teams from other teams has been kind of a question mark. I think those things go back to momentum and help our offense and our defense set up better on their drives. But going back to Pete Goldman, I think this is a big weekend for him, just like it was last weekend, because I think we kind of saw him shoot up the gun this weekend. And when I say that, we played Jalen Milroe. Now we got Jaden Daniels. And then following, we've got KJ Jefferson, all dual threat quarterbacks. And what I saw this weekend from Pete was a very honest defensive coordinator. He had LT as a spy. He kept bringing in and now Santerian, who, by the way, it's just absolutely ridiculous, man. And I can't put into words what Santerian Perkins looks like as an athlete. And I've met the kid. He's an even better person. But the kid's still he's learning the schemes and learning the game plan and learning Pete still. He's just a true freshman. And he looked absolutely phenomenal this weekend. The kid has got a lot of talent, man.
People make fun of me. Like, I was here whenever Patrick Willis, I was at Ole Miss when Patrick Willis was there. And there's a lot of things in common between Santerian Perkins and Patrick Willis. There just is. I
think Santerian has a lot, is getting to the line and getting off the line a lot quicker than I saw P. Willie did. That's a little bit before my time, but I've watched a lot of highlights of him. But I think Santerian is reading the gaps and getting up the line a lot quicker than P. Willie was. P. Willie was just all over the field, and if you came near him, he was putting your helmet off. I think Santerian is a little bit more finesse than P. Willie was. But the kid is absolutely ridiculous. I can't overstate that. If you haven't watched Santerian Perkins, you need to watch the kid play football, man.
He's probably a better athlete than P. Willie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's more flexible.
Yeah. He's a good player. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Daylan, thank you so much for coming on. I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Of course, my man. Let's see some blindside defense this weekend. Let's see some mixing up of the blitzes this weekend, some hidden coverages. I love to see what Pete's got cooking up, and I'm excited for this weekend, man. It's a big weekend. Everybody pack the vault this weekend. Howdy tidy, y'all.
What is it? White shirts, yellow britches, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it might be red, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun.
That joke just went over your head a little bit, but anyway, I'll talk to you next week, Daylan.
All right, man. Take care.